Good morning, class. Now, in the previous class, we were doing excretory system and I had explained the steps of urine formation. Urine formation takes place in 3 steps. First step is ultrafiltration, second is selective reabsorption, and third is tubular secretion. So we will quickly revise that and then move on to the next part of the chapter. Now, you know, urinary ferrous tubules have the following parts. First is the glomerulus, which is a network of capillaries formed by the afferent arteriole. So, the function performed by glomerulus is ultrafiltration. Filtration of blood under high hydrostatic pressure because of difference in diameter of afferent and efferent arteriole. Then comes Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule receives the glomerular filtrate. So, Bowman's capsule receives the glomerular filtrate. Next portion, together these two are called Malpighian corpuscle or Malpighian capsule. Bowman's capsule leads in the PCT region, that is proximal convoluted tubule. Reabsorption starts in this portion of the nephric tubule. Reabsorption of almost all water, sodium ions, chloride ions, smaller protein molecules, amino acids, and all amino acids and all glucose are reabsorbed in the proximal convoluted tubule of the nephron. Then comes loop of Henle. Loop of Henle, again reabsorption takes place here of water and sodium ions in the loop of Henle. Then comes the DCT region or the distal convoluted tubule of the urinary ferrous tubule or nephron. Here again reabsorption takes place of the remaining water and potassium ions, and potassium ions are reabsorbed in the DCT region of the nephron. The third step, this is the first step of urine formation, ultrafiltration. Second step of urine formation is reabsorption or selective reabsorption. Third step is tubular secretion, which also takes place in the DCT region of the nephron, and here potassium ions, antibiotics, other drugs, creatinine, etc. are secreted into the lumen of the tubule, and ultimately what is removed by the kidney is called urine. After filtration of blood, after the 3 steps that have taken place, now what is removed from the kidney is the urine. Now coming to urine, I had told you, mentioned last time also, that the volume of urine that is produced is 1 to 1.5 liters per day. That is, in a period of 24 hours, 1 to 1.5 liter of urine is produced. Coming to color of the urine, urine is light yellow in color, faint yellow in color. We can also say it is straw colored, and this is because of the pigment urochrome that is present in urine. Point to be noted here. This is a commonly asked question also in the boards. Urochrome is the name of the pigment present in the urine which gives color to it. Then coming to pH of the urine. The range of pH is from 5 to 8. Normally it is acidic and pH is 6. But this pH keeps changing with the diet, with the food taken in. Now if protein diet is consumed, pH is more acidic. If vegetables are taken, if vegetable diet is taken, pH becomes alkaline. So as I said, the range is between 5 to 8 and it depends on the diet. So this is about characteristics about the urine. Now we come to the composition of urine, that is, what are the different constituents that are present in urine. Composition of urine and the different constituents present in urine and their amount. Constituents and let us say their concentration or amount in 1 liter or per liter. First is water. Water is about 900 to 950 ml per liter of urine. Then we come to urea. Urea is about 25 grams per liter of urine. Then we come to the next constituent, that is sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is about 9 grams per liter. Then we come to potassium chloride. Potassium chloride is 2.5 grams per liter. Then we come to creatinine. Creatinine is 1 gram per liter. Uric acid is 0.6 grams per liter of urine. Ammonia is 0.7 grams per liter of urine. Calcium and magnesium ions. Calcium and magnesium ions, these are about 0.4 grams per liter of urine. So this is the composition of urine with the various constituents and their amount in 1 liter of urine. Now the next topic that we are going to now study, I will tell you how urine output is regulated under the influence of 2 main hormones. Now these 2 hormones are, first hormone is called ADH, which stands for anti-diuretic hormone. It is also called vasopressin. It is secreted by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Name of the hormone is ADH. It has to be written in capital letters because it's an abbreviation. Stands for anti-diuretic hormone. Other name for it is vasopressin. This hormone regulates the amount of water to be removed in the urine. Second hormone is aldosterone. Aldosterone is a hormone produced by the adrenal gland, by the cortical region of the adrenal gland. Same way I told you, kidney has an outer cortical region and an inner medullary region, and above the kidney, when I was teaching you the urinary system, the excretory system, I told you there is a cap-like gland located on the anterior end of the kidney called the adrenal gland. It is an endocrine gland. It secretes hormones. So the hormone produced by the cortex of the adrenal gland, one of those hormones is aldosterone, and this hormone is responsible for maintaining sodium and potassium concentration in the urine. So I will explain this, how there is regulation in urine output under the influence of these two hormones. So now we are doing regulation of urine output. It is under the influence of two hormones. First hormone is antidiuretic hormone, abbreviated as capital ADH. This is also called vasopressin, and this is produced by the posterior lobe of pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is a master gland located in the brain. And second hormone is aldosterone. This hormone is produced by the cortical region of the adrenal gland. So we can say produced by the adrenal cortex. Now, amount of water to be removed with urine is under the control of ADH. That is, reabsorption of water is influenced by the hormone ADH. And sodium ion and potassium ion concentration is regulated by aldosterone. So these are two important hormones. Now, role of ADH or antidiuretic hormone, or let us say vasopressin, is such that if the blood plasma is concentrated, more ADH is going to be produced. When I say blood plasma is concentrated, means there is less fluid, less water in blood, and more water has to be absorbed. So this hormone is responsible for absorption of water by the kidney tubules. So more ADH is produced, and as a result more reabsorption of water takes place. And the blood plasma, if it is concentrated, ADH secretion increases, more water absorption takes place. And vice versa, if the blood plasma is dilute or there is more liquid, more water in the blood plasma, water has to be removed from the kidneys tubules. So less ADH secretion from the pituitary gland, from the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland will take place, and more water will be removed from the kidneys. Now to explain this, I will give you an example. Like in summers, like in these days, especially in this humid weather, there is a lot of sweating. So lot of water and salts are lost from the body by perspiration or by sweating through the skin. That means amount of water decreases. Now amount of water decreases means plasma becomes concentrated. So as a result, more ADH is produced and water is absorbed by the kidney tubules. Therefore, it is said that one should drink a lot of water during summers, because when water is absorbed in the kidney tubules, along with water, urea is also absorbed. Some amount of urea is also absorbed by the kidney tubules. If the urine becomes very concentrated means most water is absorbed, the urine production becomes less and it is concentrated, which also means that along with water, urea is being absorbed. And in the beginning I told you urea is toxic. Accumulation of urea in the blood can be fatal. It can even lead to death. Another problem, people who suffer from cholera or excessive diarrhea, water is lost from the body either by vomiting or by loose motions. The intestines are unable to absorb water. Water is being lost. So, lot of water is being absorbed by the kidney tubules, and along with water absorption, urea absorption also takes place. That is why if someone is suffering from cholera or diarrhea, the immediate need is to replenish water to the body. And along with water, electrolytes also have to be replenished, because with vomiting, with diarrhea, water and electrolytes are being lost. So oral rehydration syrup or glucose saline drip, that is directly into blood, water is injected by drip, and the drip is of glucose and saline. Saline means sodium chloride, along with water to replenish water in the body. And if this is not done, the kidneys will absorb water. I told you kidneys help in maintaining homeostasis, means a steady state in the body. So if there is deficiency or less water in blood, more absorption of water will take place by the kidney tubules, and along with water, poisonous substances like nitrogenous waste will also be absorbed. So this can be dangerous. Now, role of kidney. First main function of kidney or the chief function of kidney is removal of urea. Besides that, kidney also helps in osmoregulation. What I have explained just now, under the influence of these two hormones, the functioning of the kidney, how the regulation of urine output takes place, is called osmoregulation. So this is a function, another function of kidney besides removal of the nitrogenous waste, which means that water balance and sodium and potassium ion concentration balance is maintained by the kidney under the influence of these two hormones. Antidiuretic hormone helps to regulate amount of water present, maintain balance of water, and aldosterone helps in maintaining balance of the electrolytes, sodium and potassium. So here I would like to explain one more thing to you, that is how concentration of or amount of ADH produced by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland influences the output of urine, and if ADH secreted is less, or we also say hyposecretion of antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin, leads to frequent urination, because more water has to be removed, copious amounts of, or copious means large amount of urine is excreted. Urine is produced and excreted. So this problem or this disorder is called diabetes insipidus. The word insipid means tasteless. So in this case, the urine does not contain any glucose, because the other kind of diabetes in which the urine contains glucose is called diabetes mellitus. Mellitus means honey. Honey is sweet. So this is comparative. tasteless urine means too much of water because of hyposecretion of ADH. And diabetes mellitus is caused due to hyposecretion of the hormone insulin. This hormone is responsible for maintaining glucose balance in the body. So if there is undersecretion or hyposecretion of insulin, glucose is lost from the body in urine, and therefore the urine tastes sweet, and the disorder is called diabetes mellitus. So this was for comparison. All this you will study in greater detail when you do the chapter on endocrine system, where you will study about the various endocrine glands, hormones produced by them, disorders. So because we are studying about water balance done by the kidneys, so this was a relevant thing which I have explained here. Now after this we move to the malfunctioning of the kidney and the various disorders associated with that. So disorders of the kidney. First disorder is uremia. This means concentration of urea becomes high. Now in the beginning I had told you, besides removing nitrogenous waste from the blood, kidney also helps in maintaining homeostasis. That is, a steady state of all the substances is maintained by the kidneys. So uremia means when concentration of urea becomes high. Then another problem is hematuria, in which blood is or blood cells come out with kidney. Blood is found in urine. That is, the blood cells get filtered, which should not be the case. This is because of infection in the kidneys, which can be due to high fever, virus, bacteria, or infection of the urinary tract. Then if glucose is excreted in the urine, the problem is called glucosuria, or it is also called glycosuria, which I just now explained in diabetes mellitus, that the balance of glucose is unable to be maintained and glucose is removed with urine. That is, glucose concentration becomes high and it is removed with urine. The problem is called glycosuria or glucosuria. This is because of diabetes mellitus. Then another problem of the kidney is nephritis. Nephritis is inflammation of the kidney. Inflammation of the kidney means inflammation of the nephrons. Kidney is made up of nephrons, the structural and functional unit of kidney. So the problem is called nephritis. Then kidney stones. Sometimes kidney stones are produced. Kidney stones are produced because of crystallization of uric acid or even salts of calcium phosphate and calcium oxalate lead to production of small stones in the kidney. Then another disorder is pyelitis. Pyelitis is related to inflammation of the pelvis of kidney. Now, Pelvis actually means kidney is bean shaped. Outer portion is cortex, inner is medulla. This is outer is cortex. Outer portion is the cortex. Inner is the medulla. The medulla opens into a funnel shaped structure, broad portion here. This is the pelvis. So pelvis opens into the ureter. So if there is inflammation of the pelvis, the disease is called pyelitis. And if this pelvis spreads to other parts of the kidney, the problem is called nephropyelitis. This is when infection spreads to other parts of the kidney. So these are the major disorders of the kidney. Now because of these disorders, the kidney is unable to function. We say there is kidney failure. That is, the kidney is unable to function. In that case, an artificial kidney is used, which is actually a dialysis machine. Dialysis machine functions as the kidney because the entire blood is filtered. Entire blood is filtered by this machine. Blood from the radial artery is sent to the machine, to the dialysis machine, where it gets filtered, and then this filtered blood, from which urea, nitrogenous waste and other unwanted things like antibiotics are removed, is then put back into the body through the radial vein. That is why it is called artificial kidney or dialysis machine, and the process is called dialysis. Now, when I was telling you about osmoregulation, about the role of antidiuretic hormone, I told you in summer, in this weather, urine production decreases because lot of water is lost from the body in the form of sweat, in the form of perspiration takes place, and vice versa. In winter, more urine is produced because there is no sweating. So that steady state is maintained by these hormones. Another thing here, that urine output, volume of urine produced keeps changing. There are certain substances which induce urine formation, and these substances are called diuretics. Diuretics are those substances like beverages, tea, coffee, alcohol, which stimulate more production of urine. So diet, weather, intake of beverages, all these also help in regulation of urine output. So with this, we have completed the chapter. We have discussed the urinary system, the excretory system, the organs of excretion. Chief organ is kidney. We have studied its structure, structural and functional units, structure of the nephron, process of urine formation, and today we have studied regulation of urine output, disorders of the kidney, and functioning of the artificial kidney. So that's all. Good luck till next time.